And we will reuse the icy environment from the pillars. So Control D on that. Call it level 05 force field and open. We can delete everything here except for the environment. Can turn off the sun. So I'll just move these blue lights kind of closer to the ice glyphs and then hold Alt, and this will be our fire illumination orange light. So just give it a fiery orange color. Make sure that cast volumetric shadow is enabled. So I'll be using this animation on Mixamo on the Eve character. It's called Standing Block Idle. So you can download it, import it, drop it into the scene, reset the location to 0, and then make a new level sequence. SQ_force field, drop her animation in here, animation +, blocking, extend this to 300 frames, extend the animation, and we need to create a collider around her, which will be the force field. So shapes, sphere, set the scale to 4 and reset the location to 0. And we need to give it an invisible material so that it's transparent, but the collisions will still be there. So you can make a new material and call it M_invisible. And then all you gotta do is set the blend mode to translucent and opacity to 0 and save and apply that material to the sphere. I'll make a copy of this orange light, hold Alt. And for the Niagara setup, we can reuse our ring of fire as the base. So I'll copy the NS_ring of fire, call it NS_force field. We can get rid of static mesh location. So right click, delete. And instead we want a shape location with a sphere radius of 25. And we're basically setting up a flamethrower. So we need to give them some initial velocity. So +, add velocity. And then we have to look at which axis. So the green axis is Y, this way is plus, the other way is minus. So let's do -1000 and drop it into the scene, reset location to 0 and move it to the right. All right, so we definitely have something. We're probably emitting way too much particles. So spawn rate, set that to just 1000. Under particle update, we don't need any gravity force. Delete that. Fluid source attributes, we do want smoke, so I'll set the density to 1. Velocity scale, I did between 1 and 1.2. Divergence, we can reset back to 1. And the radius, we can reset to a single value of 10. And we're not getting enough temperature, so first we can turn off the spread renderer and set the temperature to 1 for now. We can play with that in a bit. Next, under emitter summary, collisions, let's enable the mesh collisions again. And under boundary, we can uncheck open boundary -Z so that the fire and smoke will collide with the bottom of the box. Under simulation tab, let's show the bounce. I'll give you the values here since I've done it before to speed this up. So world size, I did 1000 by 2200 by 700 with the pivot of -0.45 and 0.35 on the Z. And I'll set my resolution to 400. If it gets too heavy for your system, feel free to leave it at 300 or lower. I will also increase the pressure solve iterations here to 25 because we have that high speed fire hitting the sphere. So this will help a little bit. I also want the fire to last longer. So dissipation rate temperature, you can actually go into negative values to make the fire last a very long time. So I ended up doing -0.15. So we're starting to get somewhere. You can play around with moving this closer, further away from the force field. I want the flames to definitely nicely wrap around our collision sphere. And we need to push the whole simulation to the left. And we're just gonna use wind for that. So under forces, wind, calculate wind. We want it to be 0 on the X, -1 on the Y, and let's try wind magnitude of 150. Okay, that works pretty well. We can Also experiment with moving the collision sphere a little bit higher. And you can always select the Niagara system and just uncheck auto activate and enable it again to watch it from the beginning, because the impact is kind of cool. And so this is a stylized effect, so it does come down to your personal taste, but I think the flames are a little bit bright. But I don't want to lower the amount of temperature because they will just produce less flames. And I want a lot of flames to encapsulate the entire sphere around her. So instead what we can do is go under Rendering tab and change the fire color from white to a slightly more orange. And this will just color the pure white flames into more orange hues. And so this is great progress. We are almost there, and we will continue improving this in part 2.